We have a prayer early in the morning. It's called Elokai Neshama. Almighty God, the soul that you brought to me, it's pure. The story goes, it was one fellow that walked in the synagogue, Hasidic synagogue, and the Rebbe noticed the fellow is praying with his heart out. And he was standing next to this fellow, and he was sobbing and crying over one line again and again and again. What is the line? They said, Almighty God, the soul that you brought me is pure, you fashioned, you created it, and you will bring it back to me when the time comes. It's part of our belief that it will be a moment in the future of resurrections, as the Ezekiel 37 tells us, and that time those souls will return and resurrected. So the fellow was standing there and crying. So the Rebbe asked him, why are you crying so much? So he said, look, Rebbe, I have to confess, I don't know how much you know, but my profession is a moneylender, and the way I'm making a living is charging interest. And I know the business well. I'm doing it for many, many years. And I'm making fortunate over that. The problem is I have 3 sons that are total spendthrift. And what happened, they are like silver spoon kids. They live in a very ostentatious life. And I know the day that I'm gone, very shortly afterward, all the money is going to be total gone. So the Rebbe said, so all right, so why are you crying? He said, I'm thinking after that we'll have a resurrection, right? So I'll be resurrected, and guess what's going to happen? There's no money left for me. You hear that? So the Rebbe came to him and says, don't worry, I promise you, it will not be your problem. You know why? Because the Gemarrah tells us in several places that those who violated Torah and or rabbinic law by lending money with interest will not come back in the resurrection. So you will stay asleep for the rest of the time after you pass, and don't worry, you'll not come back. It sounds, I see you laughing, it sounds funny, but there's a lot of truth in that. Because the reality is, you walk in the store, and that's what we explained in the past several days. You walk in the store, the guy said to you, look, if you're buying cash, there is a price. If you want to make payment, it's a different price. So let's think together, what does that mean? When you're making payment and it's a different price, it means that the owner of that store or entity gives you a loan with interest. And it's basically you're paying an interest for that money, which is a violation of the laws. So today we're going to speak about mortgages. The key part of discussion is the mortgages and the issue of interest. The idea is there are different forms of mortgages. For example, there is a concept we're going to learn, it's called kitzuta. It's a 5-year frame of special loan, and or the mortgage that many people recognize here, very similar to Fannie Mae. You know those mortgages that you cannot pay earlier, is an extraordinary fine for paying earlier, and then you can collect it in one time. There is another form of mortgage, it's called mashkanta desura. We're going to refresh what we studied several days. We have the concept of avak ribit. Avak is like a dust, it resonates an interest. You know, the rabbis tells us when it's come to tachrichim, putting a shroud around the dead body. This is one of the thing in Judaism, that when you wrap the body, those people who does the Chevra Kadisha know it very well, right? There is no pocket, right? You don't have a pocket so always it's a thought. Why we don't have? Because the reality is all these ideas of people making a nice interest, etc., over quick money, over charging in interest, etc., if it's against Torah law, rabbinic law, it's not a blessing. You're not taking with you the levush. What you carry with you is only Torah and mitzvot. So what we learned yesterday, because we're going to continue the subject. Reuven, we're just using names. Reuven lend to Shimon 100,000. I'm just using numbers. 100K. And the deal is, if in a period of 3 years, Shimon returned the money, then everything is fine. However, as a collateral, Reuven collected from Shimon a property, and that property's value, for example, is 200, with condition that if Shimon will not return the 100K in a period of 3 years, he's going to lose the property that carries a higher value than the original loan. And we discussed yesterday and day before yesterday the subject of asmachta, if kanya or not kanya, because the Vilna Gaon explained to us that during the period of 3 years, if it's a field that both parties agree upon, that the fruits that come out of the trees or other products that benefit the lending institution, whatever it's used during the period of the 3 years, he doesn't need to return, because that's a formulation of avak ribit, which is not biblical by any means. The rabbis have some issues with that. Is resonate a form of interest, but as far as return it, you don't lo yotze b'dayanim, you don't collect that. So here we are with another example, with selling a estate with certain term and condition and guarantee. As we said, we're going to study Bava Metzia, page 67. We start with page 66b, 28 lines from the bottom of the page. So you have a fellow that sold a property and he put a guarantee, which is, if you have a situation that the land is seized by the seller's creditor, meaning another party comes in and collected that the money that owes toward this estate that was sold, the seller will reimburse the buyer his purchase money. We explained that there are several stages of property's values, and the highest one is called idit, and here is the idit, which is superior quality of the estate. So basically the term and condition, usually, as Rashi explains, the collection is from the middle. It's called Beinonit. But here, that was the precondition. If it come to this situation that need to collect a estate in exchange of losing the property, he wanted the highest quality estate. Amarlei, the seller said to the buyer, מאידי דית לא מגבין עליך, דבאינו למי קמקמאי, אלא מגבין עליך מאידית אחרים דאית לי. So he said, look, I'll not allow you to collect the most superior quality of my superior quality land, because I want to keep those for myself. But I'll allow you to collect from other superior quality land that I have. And what happened in that case, they said, Lesof trafu aminei, ata bidka shakei le'edei idit. So eventually, the creditor seized the field from the buyer, And in the meantime, the flood came and flooded the seller's most superior quality of his superior quality land. So the Ritva discussed what exactly happened. Does that mean that it's lower quality, which called ziburit, or total loss? But anyway, the idea is the only idit left. סבר רב פפא למימר, מעידית דאמר לי, והקיימה לי, והקיימה. So he hold that since the seller said to the buyer that he could collect from his superior quality land, and his superior quality land is intact, the seller have no choice, he have to give it to him. That's basically the promise. אמר לרב אחא מדיפתי לרבינה ולאימה לה, the sellers should say to the buyer, כי אמרי לך הנא מגבינן לך דאבה ידי ידית קיימה, קיימה לה ידית במקום ידי ידית. He says, the idea is, I told you originally that you can take from the superior quality. It means with a certain term and condition, which means that if I have it, since it ruined it, I don't have it, so therefore I want to collect from this, which means that he basically, the Taz says in Choshen Mishpat 102, that that in a certain time, certain condition, he can go for that and he can collect from the middle one, from Beinonit. So I would like to share with you the Choshen Mishpat in 207. The Rema, citing the Rashba, rules that if one who borrowed money set aside land as repayment for loan, and said that if he fails to repay the loan, the lender will receive payment only from this land, the land is considered designated repayment, and the borrower must either give him that field or repay the loan with money. So Rav Shabbat Hava Masik Bidei Rav Kahana Zuzei. So he owed money to Rav Kahana. So Amar Lei, Rav Shabbat was the borrower, said to Rav Kahana, who was the lender, Ilo parana lach leyom ploni gavei ma'ai chamra. So if you're not going to pay in a certain time, certain date, I will collect what you owe me from the wine you have. So unfortunately, he didn't pay him, and it turns that the wine turned expensive. So here the question is, as far as making transactions, kinyanim, the sages have a discussion if the lender really possessed it, or it's only asmachta. As we said, that asmachta is like, in a way, indirect contact, and it's there is a view that lo koneh, that it's not make it as a possession, as we learn it in the Mishnah. That's the way the Rashi and the Meiri explain, because his commitment was to pay more than what he borrowed if he will not pay him to certain date and time. סבב רב פאפא למימר, כי אמרינן לאסמכתא לא קנא אנא מילה בערעה, דלאו לזבוני קיימה, אבל חמרה כיוון לזבוני קאי כזוזי דמי. He said, all of that applies only to the land which does not stand to be sold, which is not typically bought and sold on the market. And therefore, the promise is invalid, as it did not genuinely intend to give it to him. But in the case of wine, since it does not stand to be sold, it's considered like the money, and therefore he can claim the debt from wine, as he can claim the debt from any other item with monetary worth. אמר לרב הונא ברי דרב יהושע לרב פאפא, אחרי אמרינן בשמי דרבא, כל דאי לא קנאי. Says the condition that is said if does not affect acquisition. So it means that any agreement that does not involve a definitive commitment but does obligate one in the event of a particular outcome has the status of an asmachta and does not affect acquisition, as the one setting the condition did not really intend to fulfill the commitment. אמר רב נחמן, אשתא דאמרו רבנן אסמכתא לא קניא, הדר ארעה והדר פירי. So basically the estate returned to the borrower, and also the fruits that the lender ate, he needs to pay because he didn't acquire the estate. That's what we mentioned earlier from the Vilna Gaon. You see it also in Bet Yosef in Choshen Mishpat 207. So just reading you the vignette from Rabbi Evan Israel translation. If one borrowed money in his field was the guarantee for the loan, and the borrower said to the field will belong to the lender if he fails to repay within 3 years, the transaction is invalid, and therefore the lender may not consume the produce from the field. If he does so, this is fixed interest. The Rama maintains that any produce consumed within 3 years is merely a hint of interest and need not to be returned, but produce consumed after the 3-year period must certainly be returned. לממרא, דסבר רב נחמן, מחילה בטעות לא הוויה מחילה. So we derive from that what Rav Nachman said, that the mistaken forgiveness of payment is not valid forgiveness, meaning that if one forgoes repayment of a loan of a certain amount of money in error, he can change his mind. So in this case, the borrower had thought that the lender had acquired the land, and he therefore allowed him to consume the produce. So, והאיתמר, we stated the Amoraim disputes in the very issue. המוכר פירות דקל לחברו. If one sells the fruit of a palm tree to another before the fruit ripens, and אמר רב הונא עד שלא באו לעולם יכול לחזור בו. רב הונא hold that as long as is one of those mecher, sell or buy, that you are basically purchase something that is not there yet in the world. So as long as it's not in the world, you don't have chalot kinyan, you don't have a final matter of acquisition. So therefore it's nullified. משבאו לעולם, however, the moment that it's they come into the world, so that's different. Ein yachol לחזור בו. So it's already too late, and he cannot retract. As once the fruits are being acquired exist, the sale has gone into effect. So the Ktsot HaChoshen elaborates on that and said that usually in the case like that, the seller wants to retract it because the price changed, they raised the price. But anyway, Rav Nachman אמר, אף מי שבאו לעולם יכול לחזור בו, even though it's already here in the world, he can retract. Why? Because a person, אין אדם מקנה דבר שלא בעולם. A person cannot acquire something that it's not in this world. So that's the אמר רב נחמן, מודינא דאישמית ואחי לא מפקינן מיני. We agreed that if the buyer seized the fruit and consumed it, we do not take its value from him. The reason is that since the seller initially accepted the transaction, although it involved a legal error, it can be assumed that he decided to waive his rights to the fruit and allow the other to take it, and consequently it can be demonstrated that Rav Nachman holds that mistaken forgiveness is forgiveness. So the Gemara basically rejects this fruit, because when it's come to mechila, the forgiveness, you don't need a kinyan. The Ritva explains that basically the moment he ate the produce and the other party did not machad, did not rejected that, so we assume that he forgive him. So basically that's Rav Nachman himself is contradiction, because he says that mechila beta'ud, that if it was a mistaken or forgiveness is not considering mechila. So he said hatam zvinei hacha halva'a. You have to differentiate between sell and a loan. When you're selling a palm tree to a fellow, so it's a sell. It's a matter of sell and buy. Rashi explained that you don't have, I'm just reading the Rashi here, he says, ומחזי כריבית שמתחילה בהלוואה בא לו וריבית קצוצה דמי ואין אבק ריבית בדבר הלוואה אלא בדבר מכר. So basically you see here that you have to differentiate between a mistake that you don't collect it from the buyer versus asmachta. So you see here a huge difference between the two. It's a discussion among the Rishonim how far you go with this. But Tosfot challenge says that Maaseh B'Taut is not Maaseh Kinyan. There are Rishonim that differentiate between forgiveness to other matter of acquisitions. But anyway, the Kovetz Shiurim in Bava Batra tried to say that when it's come to he's not planning to return the produce, it appears like a ribit k'tzutza d'oraita, that it's a regular matter of interest, that in addition to the money he took as a loan, he also took the produce, and therefore you have to have the seller because of the issue of interest take care of the produce. So here you see a huge difference between sell and a loan, because the loan you don't requiring the lender to reimburse the borrower for the produce consumed, because it's considered some form of interest. You can argue and say that it's a vakribit, that it's rabbinic. But anyway, so since we talk about mechila betaut, so the Gemara continued discussion and said, Amar Rava said, 67, Havayatevna kamei de Rav Nachman, which means I stood before Rav Nachman when he teach that mechila betaut is mechila. Ubay le'odva ona'ah, and he wanted to raise objection to him because he said it's a form of halacha of exploitation. Ve'odik chazitan ailonit. So he noticed that and he said that you have a proof from ailonit. Ailonit is the female that not develop physically. That's what we said. So he said, "Ve'odik chazitan ailonit, arei ailonit." That's the woman that cannot bear a child, meaning when she reaches maturity, she cannot bring it to public hair. It's ailonit, like ail, that cannot have a child. So they said, "V'avya mechila." That's something we studied in Ktubot, page 100b. As we said, that a minor that have the father, he can accept kiddushin upon her, but then she reaches maturity, she can reject it. Ashniya, we learn that arayot, and the sages add, in addition to mother of his mother and mother of his father, that's called shniyot l'arayot. In addition, we just learned that in Yevamot 21. So, ve'ailonit, en lahem lo ktuba velo perot velo mezonot velo blaot. That's all the form we learn that in Ktubot, that since there's no Ktuba, the Tosfot said that that's applied to Ailonit, that she bowed and she ate before he recognized it. So it means if it was Mechila Betaut, it's considering that it's Mechila, and that's follower of Nachman. So the Gemara said, Velohi, but it's not so. The halacha of ona'ah, lo ona'ah ha'havya tshuvtei, velo alinit mesayale, lo ona'ah tshuvtei, lo yada, de itei ona'ah, de machil gabei, velo alinit mesayale, de nichla, de tepok al hashma de yishut. So that's the concept we learn many times, that she better recognizes a married woman and give the husband the dowry and the produce, and therefore it's not considered ta'ut. There are those who argue and say that it is some form of mekach ta'ut, because she didn't know that she is Ailonit. But the question is, if she did it like Reish Lakish said, Tav lemeitav tandu, that she wants to be called married. Anyway, the woman said to man, Zilzveli ara mikrivei, purchase an estate from one of my relatives. Azal zavala, he did it. Amar le yavu lezuze ma'adrat linealei. So it means, if there's money, I want you to get it, give me the field back to me. Amar le, the agent said to the seller, at venavla achei. So you and your sister, they are basically brothers, so sisters, so you can get along each other. So he said, Samcha date velo gamaru maknei. Amar Rabba Ravuna kol ad v'nachla achei, Samcha date velo gamaru maknei. So it means that that's the condition, that he enabled the other to acquire the field. So the Ritva said the Rashba said that was the condition, that the condition is fulfilled, and if I have the money, give it to Navla, and she have to return the estate. Ar'a hadra. So in that case, the land itself must be returned to its owner. Peirei mai. So what do you how do you deal with the produce? Because they consume by the buyer in the interim. ריבית קצוצה עבו ויוצאים בדיינים, או דין מאבק כאבק ריבית הוא והם יוצאים. So how you treat it? You treat it as a hint of interest, that it's a rabbinic law prohibited, or you say that it's a fixed interest, and that's a violation of Torah law, it's ריבית קצוצה. אמר רבא בר אבונה מסתברא כי אבק ריבית עבו והם יוצאים בדיינים. It appears that it's only a violation of rabbinic law, only in a sense that because it's a hint of interest, and therefore they don't have the legal proceeding followed by the rabbinic court, ואין יוצאים בדיינים, and the reason, בכן אמר רבא ריביתו ואין יוצאים בדיינים. So basically she carried the fruits and she doesn't need to return it. אמר לאביי לרבא, אמר לאביי לרבא, משכנתא מאי. So, with that said, how you treated the mortgage, which is you have here the borrower, and he pledged a field to the lender, who walks the field and consumes its produce during the term of the loan, without any agreement allow him to do it. So you ask, הטעם, טעם המאי, משום דלא קץ בי. It's not fixed, meaning he doesn't make it lucidly in advance, that he eats the produce as a matter of rebit. Hachaname lo קץ לי, so therefore here too, when it's come to the mortgage, it did not fix a particular sum of the money interest. או דילמה, הטעם זביני הכה הלוואה. Or you say that it's a sale, but here it's a loan. אמר לי, הייתה מים משום דלא קץ לי, הכנמי לא קץ לי. So אמר רב פאפי, עבד רבינה עובדה. So Rav Papi said that Ravina performed an action, so a case like that. וחשיב והפיק פירי דלא כרבא ברבונה. So that's basically its ריבית קצוצה. Now we continue with very similar when I studied like Fannie Mae loan. Some of you know what I'm talking about, those loans that it's a very structure. אמר מר ברד רב יוסף משמד רבא, המשכנתא בהתרא דמסלקי, אבל שיעורי זוזי מסלקינן לי. So he said that you have this type of mortgage, the lender holds part of the borrower's land and may consume its produce, so it's dependent on local customs. It says, in the place where the custom is that the borrower can repay the loan at any time, and the court removes the lender from the land once the loan is repaid. So then, once the lender consumes the measure of produce equivalent to the amount of money to the land, he will move him from the land at this point. And the produce consumed is considered repayment for the loan. אכל תפי לא מקפקין מלב, לא מחשבינן משטרה לשטרה. You don't carry one document to the other. ובדיעת מי, but if it belongs to the orphan, so that mortgage belongs to the orphan, it's different. אכל שהוא זוזי מסלקין עלי. אכל תפי מפקינן מיני. ומחשבינן משטרה לשטרה. So that's different, because when it's come to the owner of the field generally forgives payment for the extra produce the lender consumed, but minor orphans are too young to forgive a debt, and the case is judged according to the halacha, the letter of the law. Rav Ashi disputed, and Amar Rav Ashi, Hashta de Amar Tachal Tfei lo mapkinan minei, Achal shu zuzei, Name lo mesalkin belo zuzei, Mai ta'ama. So he said, Apuke, Saluke belo zuzei, Apuke mineihu. So that's basically the Ritva explains that Anan Sadeh, that they intend to eat the produce as an act of rebit. It's a hint of interest and cannot remove by legal proceeding that have the rabbinic court. Avad Rav Ashei Uvda. So Rav Ashei perform an action in case of this kind, even minor orphans. 67. Be kigdolim. So you treat it like an adult. So there is a Choshen Mishpat, you see it, the halacha, when it's come to this type of things, you know what, let's continue a little bit and then we go back here. Amar Rav Abreder Rav Yosef Mishmeder Rabbi, Mashkanta Batra lemesalke lo neichol ela benachyata. So we only use deduction in the amount of the loan that granted to the borrower, equivalent to the value to that of the produce consumed by the lender. So Rashi explained, צובה דרבנן שצריך ליישב דרכיו ולהתקדש, אבל מותר לו פן עמדו ממנו לזלזל באיסורים אפילו מלאכת הנמי לא נאכול. So he said that when it's come to the Torah scholar, so you have to be extraordinarily careful that the way he conduct himself, so he may not consume the produce even with the deduction the amount of the loan. And the way that they consume is a fixed payment, the details of which the Gemarrah will explain. That's kitzuta. So it's basically 5 years. The first 5 years, he doesn't take anything, and then he get everything. The Rishonim explain that that's basically the same as arisut. Soon you see it. So the Anicha leman amar kitzuta sharia, ela man amar kitzuta asira ma'ika lemeimar deitma. Kitzuta, disputation Rav Acha veRav Ina. אחד אמר קיצות השריה ואחד אמר קיצות האסירה. So one said that it's okay, the other one said no. That's the Gemarrah in Pesachim 74b, that they said anytime they have a disputation between Rav Acha and Rav Ina and you don't know who said what, Rav Acha is the most stringent. So it means the Rav Acha here prohibited kitzuta, Rav Ina allows. Some say there's Rav Rafram. Anyway, hey chedam kitzuta. Give me example of the fixed payment. So he said, Amar le al 5 שנים נכין לך בלא נחייתה. Says up to 5 years I'll consume the produce of the field without a deduction in the amount of the loan. מכאן ואילך שהימין עלה כולהו פרא. From this point and onward, I will appraise for you the value of the produce I consume and subtract this sum from the debt. So that's basically the concept of the arisut. Soon we're going to have several practical halachot with this. Ika de amrei kol nachyata, אבל איך דמי קיצודה דאמר לי עד 5 שנים אכילה בנחייתה, which is a fixed budget. מכאן ואילך שמינן לכולו פרא. From that point onward, I'll appraise for you the value of all produce I consume and deduct the sum from the loan. So it's not the issue of interest. The Pnei Yoshua, see also the Ritva said that's the Nachyata applies to everyone. Everyone can do it. Man דאסר בקמה איתה שר בתרייתא. man דאסר בתרייתא היכי שר למייכל. So we understand that the one who prohibits the practice, so it's the first version that permits the practice we describe in a second. So the Gemara asks, but according to the one who also prohibits the practice described in a second version, how is it permitted to consume the produce of a mortgage field? So the Gemara said, Share ki mashkanta de Surah. That's the mashkanta, the mortgage that he used in Surah in Babylon. The chatvei ba hachei, that this is the language they write in the mortgage. B'mishlam shnaya ilen tipok ar'a da beloch saf. So he said, upon the completion of the 3 years, during which the lenders may consume the produce of the field, this land shall leave his possession without money and return to the owner, as the entire amount of the loan will have been repaired by means of the consumption of the produce. So Tosfot asks, Lichoire, what's the chiluk? So he explained that benachyata it's appear like a loan. So therefore, Talmid Chochem, it's incongruous, it's inappropriate. But when Reuven writes to Shimon X amount of years, so he give him the right to use it. So it's not considering alva'ah, it's considering a mekach or mimka. It's like a matter of buying and selling. I'd like to share with you a few halachot. One is the Rambam, Ilchot Malveh Veloveh, chapter 7. If one lends money to another who mortgages a field or a house to the loan, if it is in a place where local custom allows the borrower to remove the lender from his property at any time by paying the debt, if the lender does not give the borrower a reduction for the former's use of the land or the fruit, this is a fixed interest that can be reclaimed in court. If he lowers the debt by less than the actual value, this is a hint of interest. The only way to carry out this arrangement in a permitted manner is by means of a mortgage, according to the custom of insura, as we explained later. Some maintain that if the borrower can remove the lender at any time and the lender subtracts from the debt due to his usage, this is permitted, even if he did so by less than the actual value. If he did not reduce the debt, the practice is forbidden as a hint of interest. But if the borrower does not have the option of removing the lender within this stipulated period, such as an arrangement is permitted even if the lender does not lower the amount of the debt. That's the Tur citing Rosh. Yet another claim that the borrower's ability to remove the lender is not the decisive factor at all. Rather, this type of arrangement is permitted if the lender gives the borrower a deduction, and it is forbidden if he does not. Now the Tur said, citing the Rashba, if they are in a place where it is permitted to remove the lender, such as an arrangement is considered fixed interest. Now the Shulchan Aruch in Yoreh De'ah 172 said that in practice it's all depend upon the minhag hamakom, the local custom. The Rama writes that the Ashkenazi custom followed the opinion of the Rashba. Now, the Shulchan Aruch also said that the Rama, wherever a mortgage involves a avak ribit, a hint of interest, if the borrower seeks to deduct from the debt the value of the produce the lender consumed, he is not allowed to do so. If the borrower retracted permission and said he no longer wishes the lender to consume the produce as interest, he may subtract the value of anything the lender consumes as in the later stage. A little bit about a mashkanta desura. Again, that's the Rama. If one lends money to another, and the later mortgaged a field or a house to him with the agreement that the lender can enjoy the profits of the property during the period of the loan, such a practice is permitted according to all opinions if it is performed in a manner of a mortgage according to the custom in Surah, Babylon. This involves the mortgaging of the land for a fixed period of time, at the end of which the land will be returned to its owner free of charge. This arrangement is permitted even if the sum allocated for the use of the property each year is less than the actual profits. And that's basically the Rambam Ilchot Malveh Veloveh, chapter 6, and as we said, Shulchan Aruch Yoreh Deah 172, and the Rema.
Shula